Welcome into another edition of Pete's Pigskin Preview presented by RiverLand Roofing. I am Neal McCready in the Clark Ford Studios, joined by my friend and MPW Digital football expert Pete DeWeese as we get you ready for Ole Miss's regular season home finale, the 8th of 8 home games at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, 6 p.m. on ESPN on Saturday. Ole Miss is entertaining the Florida Gators. Florida coming in with a record of I think it's 3-6, 4-6, 2 I don't know, whatever. They're not good. They don't have a very good record. Ole Miss
3-6, 2-4 in the league.
3-6, 2-4. I rest my case. That's not good. Ole Miss is 9-1, 5-1 in the Southeastern Conference after last week's 45-0 win over the Citadel. Ole Miss can move very close to clinching a college football playoff bid with the win over the Gators. And obviously, Pete, that is the only storyline really in Saturday's game between the Rebels and the Gators. It's just Ole Miss's pursuit of the college football playoff. There's nothing else to talk about.
No, there really isn't. You know, there nothing I can think of that would be newsworthy.
Nope. Well, there's the part where Florida's trying to steal Lane Kiffin away. I mean,
I you know what? I haven't been on social media in the last 2 weeks, so I honestly just been busy. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that is supposedly in the cards. Now, I mean, look, it's. I told people this week. We'll talk about RiverLand in just a minute. I haven't been to the Grove in a long, long time. I mean, it's been probably a decade. This is the first time I've actually been sort of tempted, just because I just sort of want to see I kind of feel like there's going to be this animus sort of boiling under the surface, and I'm just kind of curious to like observe it. I'm not going to go do it because it's going to be hot. I think 75 degrees, and I don't want to get all sweaty and then go cover a game, and it's fine. But it's the first time that I've been genuinely kind of curious to see like what the mood is, because I don't think it's going to be super festive. I think it's going to be kind of angry.
Yeah, it certainly has a potential to be a weird day in the Grove. I mean, hell, just based off of message board posts and the things that you see. And I mean, let's be real. You have two sides right now that are both posturing as if they have some type of knowledge or intel, when the reality is all they have is a bunch of bias and rumors, right? And I listen. I make no bones about it. I'm an Ole Miss football fan, but my fandom is far different, I think, than the average fan, just because of my experience and my career, albeit very far removed than the career of Lane Kiffin and anybody on that Ole Miss staff. It is still somewhat in the same hemisphere where an accountant or, you know, the guy that runs a Chick-fil-A. It's they're a little more removed than I. So like, I mean, I look at it and you see it, and it's just, honestly, I just don't understand it. I scream and holler and yell and cheer during games as much as anybody, but I don't. Some of the fandom stuff doesn't make sense to me. I love being passionate for the school you support and the team you support, but at the same time, man, some of the things you see and I don't understand the jousting back and forth on social media, trying to clown on each other. It's like nobody knows who in the hell you are. No. And even if they do retweet or like what you say, like, it does not matter, you know. So that's my soapbox. I'm at the end of the day, I'm with you. Saturday, I think, has a chance in the Grove and in the stadium to be very interesting. I think that post game, regardless of what happens, I think the press conference has an opportunity to be very interesting.
Yes.
And yeah, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Oxford in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the most fun I've had. No one believes me when I tell them this, and I'm telling you it's the truth. There's a thread on the Rebels 24/7 board where someone clearly is joking when they started.
Yes.
About organizing a fight. And they talk about tridents, and it's very clearly sort of a playoff on Anchorman, the movie with
Oh, I laughed
Will
when I read
Ferrell.
it. Absolutely.
I did too. I was laughing at it. So I followed it, just giggling at it, right? Because I thought it was funny. It was pretty creative. And I get these messages from a Florida fan who's very disturbed by the threats of imminent violence. And I respond with, man, come on. They're playing. They're just pretending. It's a joke. You're fine. Like, you're going to be fine on the Ole Miss campus. No one's going to hurt you. I mean, like, I would recommend that you not like walk around gator chomping in people's face or something, but in general, if you're just walking the campus, you're going to be fine. And he doesn't believe me, and he points out all these things, and he tells me he's going to reach out to law enforcement. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? And he clearly wanted me to take action against these subscribers who were threatening violence against.
Listen, Neal, I don't feel like it's my place to tell you how to run your job, but I just at some point we have to take sarcasm real. We have to take sarcasm off the plate. So, no, the first thing when I read the post, I laughed, and then my very first thought was, this is going to end up screenshotted by message board idiots or whatever that Twitter
message board geniuses.
Yeah, that's the way. Idiots, geniuses, same thing.
Yeah,
So I laughed out loud at that.
Oh shoot, that was great. All right, we're gonna get to we're gonna talk about the Florida offense, Florida and Ole Miss. Probably don't have to tell you what happened last year in that game. Ole Miss went in with big CFP hopes. They left with no CFP hopes. The Rebels would love to not have a repeat of that outcome this Saturday. To do it, they've got to stop a Florida offense that's been weird. Florida coming off a 38-7 loss to the Kentucky Wildcats last week. Yep, Kentucky, 38-7 at Kroger Field. So we'll talk about what to expect from the Wildcats. But first, let me tell you that we've been brought to you all season long by RiverLand Roofing. RiverLand's been great when it comes to durable, high-performance roofing. RiverLand stands above the rest as a licensed, insured, and GAF Master Elite certified roof replacement contractor with more than 60 years of combined experience. RiverLand specializes in roof repairs, replacements, and maintenance for both residential and commercial properties. RiverLand Roofing combines expert craftsmanship with cutting-edge roofing technology to ensure long-lasting protection for your home or business. Their team of manufacturer-trained specialists deliver top-tier service while staying within your budget. Whether you need a minor roof repair or if you're like me this summer where you needed a complete roof replacement, RiverLand provides customized solutions tailored to your needs. To learn more, call RiverLand at 662-644-4297 or visit their website, riverlandroofing.com, just like it sounds, riverlandroofing.com. And please make sure you tell RiverLand that you heard about them on MPW Digital. If you are watching this on YouTube, this show is produced by MPW Digital producer Caroline McCready. If you're listening to this on YouTube, listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you really should go find the YouTube. You would find it a little bit, or maybe a lot bit more enjoyable. I've said this all year. It's been great for me. I've learned a lot about Ole Miss football, about the teams that Ole Miss is playing, what they're trying to do to Ole Miss, what Ole Miss is trying to do to them with this show, and it's made my football consumption more enjoyable, and hopefully it's reflected in my work. But it certainly made it more personally enjoyable for me, and I know it has for a lot of other people. So Pete, it's been a lot of fun. All right, the screen is yours. Whenever you're ready to take over and talk about the Gators, go for it.
Yeah, I will. My preparation for this one was not drastically different from the preparation I kind of do from week to week, but I did. I kind of went through some different stages. One of the first things that I thought about, is I think at the end of the day, like the Florida defense. Just statistically, if you look at it, offensively, Florida's 15th in the conference in scoring. just over 20 points a game. They're 11th defensively, allowing just over 22, almost 22 and a half points per game. Defensively, they're a little better than their offense. They're 10th in rushing defense, 10th in pass defense. They're 14th in sacks. They've got 16 sacks on the season. Ole Miss, I think, is like 8 with like 21 sacks on the season. And so, but defensively, and the other thing that looking at one website and kind of stat website is they rank Florida as having the number one strength of schedule in the country right now. And you go back and look, and you've got a Miami team that was ranked very high when they played early in the season, and a South Florida team who's been a competitive football team that they played early in the season, and then obviously they've played Georgia, and I mean they've played a tough schedule.
Yeah.
And so the record is what the record is, and you look at last week and you say, well, hell, it sure got away from them, and it did, and that's. But in some regard, that's almost, I don't want to say it's an anomaly, but it's not necessarily the norm for the season. They're in the fourth quarter.
They beat Texas. They were in the fourth quarter with Georgia. Had a real shot to win that game.
Real shot to win the game.
And then you have the opt-outs. You fire Billy Napier. You make Billy Gonzalez the interim coach. You have the opt-outs. You and I just looked at it. We're taping this on Wednesday night. It's about roughly 7:30 on Wednesday night is Central Time as we tape this. 8:30 where Pete is, where the Gators are. They have multiple players out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players out. 1 doubtful, 2 questionable. I don't like the word quit. I don't like to use the word, but it was a word you had to at least think about last week in Lexington. You look, nothing against Kentucky or Mark Stoops or the people there. I mean, that give that team credit. They have continued to sort of put the helmet on and go play, but they're not good. They beat Auburn. It was the final straw for Hugh Freeze. But to beat a team by 31 points that's in the SEC. I mean, even the team that I think we all agree is the worst team in the SEC, Arkansas, they have not suffered anything resembling a 31-point loss.
No.
They've been, in fact, if you go back and look at Arkansas' schedule, and I'm only doing this to talk about how much of either an outlier or the beginning of a trend last week was, Pete. If you look at Arkansas' schedule, they're 2-7, I think. They haven't won since the first of those 7 straight losses was the one in Oxford. That was a game that was decided within the last 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. They lost to Memphis. They lost to Notre Dame, blew them out. There's a blowout. But league play, they were in the game with A&M. They were in the game with Tennessee. They were in the game, obviously, with Mississippi State, right? They were in the game with Auburn. 31 points. This has been a league where, like Ole Miss, for example, has only played one SEC game that was a 2-score game. That was South Carolina. That's been the norm. It's been mostly close games in the league. A 31-point loss at Kentucky is a head-scratcher, and it makes you ask, have they quit?
Listen, here's the reality. If you're expecting them to walk into Vaught-Hemingway and the whistle blows, the ball hits the air, and they never really come out to fight, I think you're foolish. These kids are fighting for a paycheck. In today's college football world, they are fighting for a paycheck, whether it's next year in Gainesville under new leadership or it's somewhere else on another roster. In the NIL era, they are fighting for a paycheck. There's pride and there's pocket involved, and those are going to motivate kids. Now, the reality is, do I think they have quit? No. Do I think that you can quickly get them to hang their heads? Because ultimately, I think that is what happened last week. I think it was a combination of the offense being ineffective, turning the football over, and Kentucky's offense finding a way to move the ball and create some explosives, which has not been their MO this year, quite honestly. But they were able to find some explosives early in the passing game. The young quarterback did some good things in that game. And then late, they were able to find the run game and really kind of hit some big ones and gassed them up a little bit. And so I think if you expect anything other than a talented football team to come in and compete, I think you're mistaken. The flip side of that is I do think that, like we've seen at times in the past, and maybe you've seen it out of the Ole Miss roster at times, but I think you've seen Ole Miss do it to some people too. And you think about maybe the South Carolina game last year, and maybe even the Arkansas game a little bit last year, where you come out and you're hot early and you get on the scoreboard, and all of a sudden things really start to tilt, kind of outside the scope of talent, maybe. Right? You get all the momentum and things starts to feed, and the other side it just feels like it's barreling down on top of you. And I think that's a lot of what happened in Lexington last week. I also think you come out of as a Florida Gator, you come out of that Georgia game, which is such a listen. Kentucky fans will tell you Florida is a rivalry game. Florida fans will tell you it's not. But the second Kentucky makes it a game or beats them, it's a damn problem. It always is down there. But that Georgia game, I mean, that's up there. That's A1 for them in
it's
conference
a big
play,
game. It's Alabama,
right?
Tennessee. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a big game.
And so for them to go into that game and to play them damn near to the wire and lose the way they did, and there's so much shift in the building, and there's things going on, and there's guys that are out for whatever reason, because I'm not gonna speculate on that. It's easy to suddenly just lose some motivation in the course of a game. It absolutely can happen, and you can absolutely see things steamroll. And listen, the reality is, and I actually, I've met Coach Gonzalez several times just over the years as he's recruited different guys in the area, and I would certainly not say Billy and I are friends by any means. But we've been in the same room, and I do think that what he said in regards to pulling Lagway out of that game last week, I liked his analogy. Right, sometimes a pitcher just doesn't have his best stuff, and that's certainly what it looked like on Saturday. And he tried to, I think, protect the kid a little bit, and also give the sideline a little bit of a spark, and weren't really able to find one. But I do think Lagway is going to show up with the rest of these guys. And listen, if they were on that field last year for Florida, and there's a lot of guys on that offense that were on the field last year for Florida, they have no reason not to come in feeling like they can be successful. It was kind of started this talking about the process, and that's one of the things that I did was I went back and I wanted to rewatch that game from last year. In my head, I had a kind of a vision of how it went, and then I went back and watched it, and I mean, Lagway made some great plays. He wasn't just phenomenal. 10 of 17. He wasn't just ungodly, but he made maybe 3 plays in that game. I think I wrote down 3 clips where it's like, holy hell, that was special, right? And those 3 were enough to really matter. I mean, but you look at it, obviously Ole Miss loses the football game, but they had 24 first downs to Florida's 19. Ole Miss had 464 total yards last year. Florida had 344. Ole Miss threw for Jackson Dart. You ask anybody, Jackson Dart last year, that was an atrocious game for him. Ole Miss threw for 323 yards. Florida only threw for 180. It was the 3 turnovers that Ole Miss had that really were the deal breaker. And then the other piece to me is Ole Miss ran for 141. Florida ran for 164, right? And that 164 allowed them to stay ahead of the chains and keep Lagway out of bad down and distance situations. When Ole Miss got them into those situations, they capitalized. They got him on the ground a couple times, and were able to get themselves off the field. But when they were successful on first down and on second down and kind of staying ahead of the sticks, it allowed Florida to kind of stay efficient offensively. Look at third downs, and third downs, any football coach will tell you that third down is such a big indicator of success and a predictor of wins and losses. And Florida was 7 for 15 on third down. Ole Miss was 3 for 14. You're not going to win ball games shooting that low. I mean, people talk about how in baseball, you can be a 300 hitter, essentially a 30% hitter, and be successful. It's third downs aren't like that, right? You got to be on the field to score points. Flip side of it was Ole Miss went for it 4 times on fourth down and only got it twice, and so much of that game, like hats off to Florida for the game plan and for the execution. Ole Miss shot themselves in the foot a ton of times, and some of it was route bust, and some of it was, I think, was quarterback position, and some of it was at the line of scrimmage, and you could argue some of it was coaching, decisions, maybe some of the fourth down and the direct snaps to Pegues, and is that one that they'd like to have back? Probably.
Well, and I just taken some field goals and kicked the field goal, kick the field goal. Different contest.
Absolutely. And so, so I think that was just the big thing, was kind of reminding myself, like, is Ole Miss wasn't awful in that game. It just didn't go their way, and sometimes that's the reality of football. And I think the challenge for Ole Miss this weekend, outside of kind of putting some blinders on and some earmuffs, right, your noise canceling headphones, is being able to show up and offensively not turn the football over. Florida has not produced a lot of turnovers as a defense this year. They've not generated a lot of sacks. And so if you can protect the quarterback, stay in positive down and distance situations, I do think that with all of the injuries and some of the depth concerns Florida has, particularly at the second and third level of their defense right now, that there's opportunity there for Ole Miss to be successful in the passing game. In a lot of ways, I think this is going to come down to Ole Miss's defense ability to get DJ Lagway and the Florida offense and the running back ball, to get those guys off the field. Like we said, I mean, offensively, 13th in the league in rushing, 13th in the league in passing, haven't exactly been explosive. But they do have some talented players on their roster. And if Ole Miss can be effective on the defensive side of the ball, we've talked about on here, right? I mean, Ole Miss they've been good enough to win ball games, to be in the position that they're in, but we've also seen them have some bust in the secondary. Right, we've seen them kind of lose some things at time, and I do think that Florida is going to do what they can to kind of challenge that. So we are going to focus tonight on that Florida offense specifically, and we're going to kind of peek back into the last two games. Obviously, more effective versus Georgia than they were versus the Kentucky defense, and so I just kind of want to give you some indication of some of the things that I think you can anticipate seeing from this Florida offense. Now, last year, I thought Florida did a great job with formation and motion to create a numbers advantage against the Ole Miss defense. Ole Miss likes to play with 3 safeties on the field, traditionally 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, some variation of it. Georgia's very similar in structure a lot of times, and so what you're going to see out of this film, I don't think is a lot of times altogether that different. What you're going to see, though, is Georgia's a little bit more aggressive, I do think, than Ole Miss is at times, and being willing to add that 7th defender to the box. Last year, Florida did a great job of kind of manipulating the front to gain hats and stay positive in the run game. But I kind of want to start out here, right? In one of the first clips that jumped off the page to me, honestly, was early in the ball game for the Florida offense. And one of the reasons it stood out to me is it was almost a flashback of the South Carolina touchdown in Oxford just a couple of weeks ago. So we looked at it when looking at South Carolina. They worked a deep curl to the boundary, and the slot ran a deep post, and we highlighted how they were going to read the safety. And if the safety were to drive the curl route, they're going to throw the post over the top. And on the play, Ole Miss was actually in a 3 safety look. In the middle of the field, safety got caught standing flat-footed. One thing that really stood out to me watching this, and if you can barely see it at the bottom of the screen here, this is a 1st and 10. Florida loves to take shots with play action and bootleg type movement on 1st down. Do not be surprised to see this Florida offense be aggressive early in the down and distance count, especially if they feel like they can be successful running the football on second down. So this is a good look here. They're going to go with the play action off of one of their base run schemes right there. They're going to bury Lagway deep into the mesh, and they do a good job. And listen, the kid's talented. Nobody's blowing smoke when they talk about the skill that the young man has. The offensive line does a good job giving him time right here. It's an easy read. The safety rotates over the top, and he fires a strike for an explosive down the field early in this game. Now, look, they're down some players right now, right? And they're down some of the receivers that gave them big plays in this game. But Lagway knows where he's going with the football right here. And, this is to one of the receivers that's out right now that's at least listed tonight on the availability report.
Yeah, the one that you just showed had surgery today.
Yeah, so he's out, right?
Yeah.
But, again, when you allow Lagway to set his feet, you can see here, his feet are set. He's able to stand tall in the pocket and step into the throw. He absolutely has a live arm with accuracy and can create plays down the field. So here we are just a couple plays later. Running quarterbacks is nothing new for Ole Miss this season. Whether you're talking Tulane, Arkansas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Ole Miss has seen a lot of running quarterbacks. They have not, at this point in the season, leaned all that heavily on Lagway as a pure runner, but he certainly has carried the football. He's carried it 50 times this season for a total of 63 yards. He's yet to get himself in the end zone, but where they do like him the most running the football or in the read game is in short yardage situations, red zone, goal line type situations. So here, Florida's going to come out and they're going to create an unbalanced look. So you have two receivers to the right. The inside guy is ineligible. You've got to have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. So you have the 5 offensive linemen plus these 2 receivers. You have both tight ends off the ball. And then obviously your tailback and your quarterback. So what they're going to do is try to force the defense to put extra numbers to the unbalanced side. They're going to run a zone variation towards the unbalanced side, and they are going to use both tight ends to lead for the quarterback. Running back is going to come across, and he is going to read the C-gap defender, who is this defensive end. If that defensive end chases the running back and goes inside, Lagway pulls. If that defensive end is upfield, he's going to hand it off. And as an offense, you're relying or hoping that at that point you have numbers. So here he's going to get a pull read. He's going to get behind the convoy of his 2 tight ends. And quite honestly, Georgia makes a really nice play to keep him out of the end zone. There's one guy they can't account for. He is fast enough and athletic enough to get there and is able to get him down. But the scheme is good. They ran it a couple of times in this game, and it has shown up on other tapes as well. So be alert for Lagway as a runner, especially short down and distance, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and in the red zone as well. Now, I talked about earlier, I think in last year's game, I thought they did a really good job using motion to try to gain numbers and advantage in the run game. So here's another example. So similar unbalanced set. So again, 2 receivers. But now instead of having 2 tight ends flanking each tackle, they've taken one of those guys or another receiver and they have flexed him out here. So they are going to bring him in motion this way. That has got to attract someone. Okay. They now have the ability to keep the running back and the tight end front side in the run game to try to maintain numbers there. Or what they like to do is bring the tight end backside now and create it's what guys they talk about a double force. Okay, as a football team, as a defensive football team, you have to have a force player, and that force player's job is to turn the ball back inside to help. So if you're going to say right here that 28 is a force player, what that means is any action coming his way, it is his job to get upfield and build a wall to keep the ball inside of him. Okay? If it's his job to work inside and it's number six's job to be the force player, again, he's going to go build the wall. Well, as an offense, when you put two different players attacking the same space, the defense typically is only going to have one force player. Well, if you can account for that force player, you now have gained a hat for any overlap player that might be working to the backside. So again, it's about understanding structure and trying to kind of make the math work and get a +1 opportunity. So here comes the motion. They're going to snap it. You see, here come both players again around. Okay, again, very, very well defended by Georgia. Okay, 28 is the read. He's not the force player. He's going to squeeze. Just like the previous snap, the Mike linebacker is going to be the quarterback player here. Okay, very good job of being disciplined here by Georgia. But as you get now two players coming to the weak side, he has to take one. He has to take the second guy. Georgia is, because they're playing man-to-man, is going to gain another hat here late to the party. And then 28 is kind of already overcommitted. So if this backside linebacker right here does not scrape over the top and make this play, Florida actually has a chance. Now, the thing that you have to understand is you really try to break down football, and I'm going to go to the end zone copy here. You rely on every individual doing their job. If 28 does not chase down the line of scrimmage like he's supposed to, when 5 sees the tight end go backside and he folds with him to the backside, if 28 has not done his job and instead gets caught up in all the motion and all the movement and steps upfield, then they're going to hand the ball to the tailback. And when 5 folds back around, when you hand the ball to the tailback, you've just now created essentially a 4-on-2 surface for the offense with a chance for the ball to spit out the front door to the tailback. So everybody's role, everybody's job is truly tied together. 28 folds in. There's the overlap. Again, athletic enough, great job on the fit, able to get him down and create a negative play right there. So Ole Miss is going to have to do a really good job in those situations, especially those unbalanced situations and the motion situations, of understanding who's the squeeze, who's the scrape, who's the force player. Okay, kind of moving on in the notes. So right here, this is just kind of an example. Like, they like to bring the formation instead of playing super wide all the time. They like to bring the formation in a little bit to try and create space in the passing game. And so here they're going to just basically take an old school smash concept and they're going to mirror it on both sides of the field. So both inside guys are going to run a corner route. Typically for a smash concept, the outside guy would run a hitch. When you take that receiver and you adjust his alignment and bring him tight, it turns into a speed out. You get to the same space. His pre-snap right here, he realizes there is one safety deep, so his eyes naturally should take him to the other side of the concept. At that point, it's all about where does this corner go. If he gets deep, then I should be able to throw a quick out route to the boundary. If he drives or stays on top of this out route, there should be space for me to throw this corner route. Now, he also understands when he sees this covered structure, somebody is going to be man-to-man on that receiver, so you're going to have to rely on that receiver to win his concept. Here, gets held up just a little bit in the release, but he is open and just 2 yards off. This is the type of throw that he makes last year against Ole Miss to be more effective. But the big thing is I want you to watch when he hits the top of his drop, and just isolate your eyes on the quarterback. When he hits the top of his drop and he goes to throw, there's no extension or shift in his body weight moving forward because there's just enough pressure in the pocket to keep him from feeling comfortable to step up. So Georgia doesn't get home. They haven't gotten home a ton this year, but they've done enough to move the front and collapse things. He's not comfortable transitioning his weight, stepping up into the pocket, which typically is going to make accuracy go down for most quarterbacks. And that's
Yeah,
exactly what you
he's
get
kind of
right
leaning
there.
backwards as he throws the ball.
He's leaning backwards a little bit. The front foot kind of stays locked, and the back hip kind of comes around, but it doesn't really fully transition, and it just causes that little loss of accuracy. You can see it again here. Ole Miss, if they're good in the middle of the pocket, and they can create some issues, and there is potential for some misses. Those misses last week against Kentucky, and we'll show you some in a minute, cause some turnovers. Okay, Florida will get into some empty sets. They will try to spread you out, and they will do it to throw the football. They will also do it to run the quarterback. Here, they have given him three options. They've given him some type of a screen or quick game concept to the three receiver side. There is a quick game concept to the bottom. And then the third option is to run the football on the draw. Again, simple math. Both backers are removed. You are 5-on-4. There is an entire void of space. Very easy decision making for him right here. He's going to catch this football, and he is going to go right now. One thing that is interesting to me when I watch them, because they will do this a few times a game. When you watch Ole Miss do this, when you watch most teams do this, you're going to see the quarterback take a delayed drop and put eyes somewhere to give the pass rush kind of a chance to sort itself out and then go. And we actually talked about how South Carolina's game plan against Ole Miss was to bull rush the interior players so that they could have eyes on Trinidad Chambliss, so that when he went to step up and on the draw, that they could fall off and react. Lagway is, when he knows the box count is telling him to run the football, as soon as he catches the football, there is zero hesitation. He is a downfield tailback. And there he's able to make the first two guys miss and turn it into a big gain. So, obviously you have to have a plan for him as a runner. I mean, right here, I can't see the second and 20, right? He gets an advantageous look. First guy miss, second guy miss, and it's a first down now after a 2nd and 20. So you've got to do a good job, because, again, they're not just doing this for him to run the football, but you better have a plan for him up front, because they will run the football, okay? Again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, 1st and 10, they love play action, bootleg, shots down the field, try to get him in a rhythm, get drives started. You can see here, bottom of the screen, 1st and 10, 2 tight ends on the field. Here they are shrinking the formation again. Here's the play action. Fake a zone to the boundary, come back out with an easy bootleg to the field, turns into a 7 or 8 yard gain on 1st down, get the drive started, move the pocket, give him an easy throw. Couple of plays later, 2 plays later, in fact, 1st down again. Again, what do you see? Packed in, 1st down. Here comes motion. We know motion has been an issue at times for the Ole Miss secondary. Here comes another bootleg. Again, move the pocket, keep the defense off balance a little bit. And there they are, finding the crosser off of the motion. Who are they going to lose? There he is. Find the crosser, 9 yards on 1st down. Really getting a kind of a rhythm going and doing a good job. Here they are 2 plays later again. Look at the bottom. 1st down again. Same drive. Again, here they go. There's the motion, play action, take a shot. Again, you can see here, Georgia does a good job right here of getting pressure and affecting and keeping him off of his spot, and that's going to be essential for this Ole Miss defense. Is right here. This is a 4-man rush by Georgia, and they're able to limit his scramble to minimal yards. But the big thing is the secondary doesn't completely bust it. They stay on top of the routes and have success kind of pinning him down. There were some plays late in this game where Florida found success running the football. Lagway did a good job kind of handling the things in the second half. And look, Georgia busted some coverages in the second half. Everybody's seen the clip of the Florida player. It was ruled an incomplete pass. It was really close. Could have completely changed the game. Could have seen it go the other direction.
I thought he caught it.
I personally thought he caught it as well when I was watching it live. I also thought that I didn't think they'd have enough evidence to overturn it once they made the call, which I think is what ended up happening. But yeah, I certainly thought that he caught it as well. So let's flip forward a little bit. Right before Lagway gets pulled, we're in this Kentucky game from last week on the road. Again, that they do like to use motion, and they're just getting him into a simple concept here. This is a simple curl flat concept. Against a lot of coverages, what's going to happen right here? If it is a one high safety in the middle of the field, this receiver is going to stay outside and skinny or tall, and he's going to try to draw that coverage to him. Because there are two safeties, it is a split safety look. This safety's expanded. This safety's worked off the hash. He's going to bend it. Lagway sees that happening. He sees the weak safety working away right here. He expects the middle of the field to be open. He does a nice job of getting to the top of his drop and finding this post route. If the post route is covered, he's going to reset and come back to the curl. Now, like I said, we've talked about some problems Ole Miss defenses have with motion. You get the same thing here. Notice you get two guys jump the flat player. That leaves them one man short out here. I'm sure somebody's supposed to be helping hold that curl window a little bit tighter, but he does a nice job. Get to it and drive the ball down the middle into the window for a big play. This is a 3rd and 10 early in the game on their first drive right here. If he doesn't like the post, he can come back. He's got the curl right here, and he's got the check down to his tailback who has a lead blocker out in front of him. But he does a nice job here. But the big thing again is, watch, he gets the top of his drop, and he's got the ability to step up a little bit into the pocket, throws a nice, clean ball. The very next play, 1st and 10. Here's the trend. Take a shot. It's play action or bootleg. There it is, okay? Right here, again, clean pocket, and it's just a flat-out drop by the receiver. So they're going to run a post with this single receiver. If this safety does not get depth and run with him, then that post is live. If the corner can stay over the top of it, he's going to come off of it. Otherwise, they're looking to get behind it. They're going to come with a crossing route, kind of a double crossing route or double post from the backside, and he is going to go 1 to 2 to 3 in his progression. Okay, he does a nice job right here. I honestly, when I watched it the first time, this boundary safety comes down. I thought he had a chance to throw the post, but he actually recognizes that the middle of the field safety is there. So he does a good job. He steps up in the pocket. And this is, you can see it from the end zone, this is an extremely accurate throw. Great ball layered down the field, intermediate depth. Hit him in the hands, and the kid just drops it. Last year in Gainesville, the receivers were not dropping these passes, and that played the major part of the outcome in that football game. Skipping down a little bit later in the game, okay, they're going to essentially motion to a similar concept, okay? They're just going to do it the other way now. Instead of going towards a single receiver, I believe they're going to bring it to the field. So this is their tight end out wide. They're going to motion him in so they can get to their 7-man protection. There it is. Okay, again, another really good throw. And this one's especially impressive because he does not have a clean pocket to throw from. He is falling backwards as he throws this ball, and it is absolutely on the money right there. A really impressive throw. Nice catch by the receiver. Great job layering the ball into the window. Listen, Lane talked about him in the press conferences this week. People have talked about him since he stepped foot on campus there. He has the ability to make every throw. You can't give him big holes in zone coverage, and you have got to do what you can to get his feet, kind of off platform and hope that it's going to affect his accuracy.
Well, let's be clear here. In a world where Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss and DJ Lagway gets in the portal, he will be pursued by Ole Miss.
He absolutely will.
Yeah.
Yes, they will cut a check. Absolutely,
100%.
One of the big things that I will say about this Florida offense and Lagway is they do a good job using the running back in the passing game. Just let me actually. Ball, the number one running back, has 27 catches on the season. Nothing gaudy, but honestly, that's currently their second leading receiver on the team. Vernell Brown, the third wide receiver, has got 33 catches in 8 games. Jaden Ball, 27 catches in 9 games. Eugene Wilson, the third, 27 catches in 8 games. Right, so they use the running back in the passing game.
Yeah.
And he is effective in the passing game. One of the things that stood out to me against Georgia, but you see it pop up in this film as well, is they really do a good job of utilizing the single receiver side. So when they put 3 receivers to one side of the field, and whether it is a tight end like it is in this scenario, or it is a wide receiver like it is in other times, they will, if you stress your coverage to the trip side, which is fairly common, they will take advantage of the 2-man game on the backside because they like their running back in the passing game. So here they're going to use him in what is known as a Texas route. Christian McCaffrey probably runs it better than anybody in the world right now. But essentially, you are going to take some version of a clear out with your tight end, whether he's a corner or a post or even a shallow route. You're going to clear things out. The running back is going to act like he's going to the flat, and then he is going to come right back underneath, and you're going to try to draw this linebacker out of there and squeeze it into that window. We actually looked at a similar concept when we looked back at the South Carolina game last week, and saw that they ran a concept where the tight end went to drag, Ole Miss blitzed, and he set down over the middle, and the tailback ran the Texas route, and Sellers missed the wide open tight end that we looked at on that tape. So it's not like it's something that is foreign to Ole Miss. Here you can see 13 steps out, works his little option route back underneath, and ends up getting in the end zone for Florida. He does a really good job. The kid understands space in the passing game. He anticipates the ball. He has good hands out of the backfield, and he is an effective player in this offense. He's arguably the most effective player in this offense. Moving on a little bit later in the game, okay? I'm trying to remember. I can't see down and distance on this particular snap. Yeah, here it is, another 1st and 10, okay? So 1st and 10, they're going to motion across. Not really a play action right here, but a true passing concept. So they're just going to motion into a variation of Y cross. Y cross is a common concept. It's one of Ole Miss's base concepts. So they have a vertical here. He sees 2 defenders working over the vertical. He's going to progress off that quickly. You have a crossing route coming from this receiver, a dig or a post from the outside receiver that is third in the progression. His check down is the tailback getting out of the backfield. And again, here's the tight end serving as a lead blocker instead of just being part of the route structure. Okay, he progresses through it pretty fine. He's the single receiver. He steps up. He's got a pretty good pocket here, but it's almost like he gets kind of jerky as he steps up in the pocket, and he just leaves this behind his receiver. If he leads the receiver with this ball, it's a big catch and a big play for the Florida offense. Instead, he puts it behind, and now they're facing a 2nd and 10. This is later in the game, and I think this might be the last play for Lagway in the game. I don't have that in my notes, but I think I remember that from when I watched it earlier. And this is just one of his interceptions, and it's just truly an unforced error right here. They're just going to work this little double move by the slot. They get the right coverage right here, and he has a chance. Kentucky gets a little bit of pressure, and again, his feet just get extended. He can't really step into it, and the ball sails on him. You can see he doesn't throw from a great base right here. Drop back. Can't really see how he can't really step into it. If you look at his front leg, my bad, from this end zone copy,
Yeah.
the front leg's almost stuck in the ground. Can't really step into it and generate great velocity. The ball sails on him right there, and the safety makes a really, really nice play. Listen, Ole Miss fans have a lot of confidence in this weekend. I think Ole Miss fans really feel like Ole Miss is going to go out and outperform this Florida team. I'm not here to tell you it's not going to happen. I do think they're going to have to go play well, right? Florida's not going to show up. They're not going to roll over. And this is still a team that is they're still talent on that roster. I think 4 of the 5 offensive linemen are the same guys that started against Ole Miss last year. I didn't go look at the actual roster, but looking at jersey numbers and body type, 4 of the same 5 guys that were effective last year against a really, really good Ole Miss defensive front. And so, there's talent on the field. It's going to be about Ole Miss showing up to execute. And if Ole Miss can create an environment, both from a crowd perspective, but also from an on-field environment that can get Florida out of their comfort zone early in this game, I do think it has a chance to turn into a multiple score game. But I don't know if I would walk in expecting that if I want to keep my blood pressure down on Saturday.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's one of those things where obviously the crowd's going to be probably incredible early. Mm-hmm. And if Ole Miss can take advantage of that, jump on them, where Florida goes, well, I mean, come on, this isn't happening. Then it's got a chance to be a rout. And I'll tell you, I kind of expect a rout just based on things I've heard out of the building. But yeah, look, you let it become a late third quarter game, an early fourth quarter game where Florida goes, we ain't got nothing to lose. I mean, the coach is already fired. I mean,
yeah,
what else? And Ole Miss starts thinking about, oh my God, we're playing ourselves out of the playoffs. And then you get the mental part of that. The crowd gets tight. There's a scenario where that gets weird, right? In Gainesville last year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Ole Miss is going to come out aggressive.
I do too.
What you need is for the aggression to not backfire.
Right.
And if you can find success in that aggression on both sides of the ball, right? And you can kind of ride that wave of emotion early and not hit the dip and let Florida find the crest, then I think that, yeah, this absolutely could be a banner night for Ole Miss. And I think most people would agree probably stamp their position in the playoffs, right? And you're more tied into that than I am for sure. But yeah, if you're in a situation where you don't take advantage early and you make some mistakes early and you turn the football over and you give a team life, you never know what's going to happen. And that's, listen, it's the piece, and it's been talked about. And we talked about the message board and everything else earlier. Is what distractions do exist, right? If you're in that Ole Miss locker room, is there a point where hey, things aren't going great and you start to question, you start to worry, and the mental aspect attacks the Ole Miss sideline, where if you're Ole Miss, you need to come out and damn execute and let all of that burden fall on the Florida sideline, who is obviously in the world right now where things are up in the air.
Yeah, I don't think the Kiffin stuff is an issue inside the team.
Not like it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, not at all. I think the whole, hey, we have to finish this. We're here. We've got all this stuff in front of us. Let's go get it. I think it's like I just said, if you go get it, you're good. If you don't, you start thinking about, hey, you got to fight that, crap, we're choking mentality. Lane on Mondays does his press conference, and I do the whole what he said, what he meant thing, and some people like it, some people laugh at it, whatever. He doesn't do a lot of throwaway lines. And one of the things that he said that I was like, it got overlooked because we were all kind of subtly and respectfully sort of asking him questions about how he values jobs and things, is he talked about how he told his teams on Monday, hey, we can't keep losing this turnover battle.
Yep.
It's going to bite us.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big thing on Saturday. To your point, they're going to come out aggressive, but it's like, hey, Trinidad, don't throw it into coverage. Be smart. Let's take what they give us. Let's go get points. Let's not go for the kill, and in so doing, kill ourselves a little bit. And so I think that's a really big part of Saturday. And then on the other side, you've got a quarterback in DJ Lagway who has struggled, who just got benched a week earlier. What you want to do with him is you don't want to give him any momentum. I'll do the baseball analogy. You don't want him to get through the third inning with 6 strikeouts,
No.
1 hit, no runs, where he starts going, all right, I'm good. Instead, you want to work his pitch count. You want to hit a ball out of the ballpark when he hangs a curve. You want him to go, damn, is there something wrong? Am I out? Am I done for the year? Am I not as sharp? What am I doing wrong? You want him to start thinking, because in that environment where it's loud and things get behind the chains, that's where he's more apt to make mistakes. And those mistakes for Florida are killers.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the things that I'm curious to see just in general is if I'm Florida and I win the toss, I want the ball.
Yeah.
And I want to slow the game down. I want to try to run the football. I want to try to punish the Ole Miss defense and bludgeon them running the football and lean on that run game, efficient, short passing game. And I want to keep the Ole Miss offense off the field.
Yeah.
I think that if you can try and keep the Ole Miss offense off the field, look at Georgia in the second half.
Yep.
If you can keep the Ole Miss offense off the field, one thing about Lane Kiffin is he wants to be aggressive. And if you limit his opportunity, it's going to make him, I think, more aggressive, right?
Almost greedy. Yeah.
Almost greedy. And when that backfires, it's painful for an offense. And listen, it is as an offensive play caller, it is a very hapless feeling to stand on the sidelines and watch a team go on a long drive and eat the clock. Yeah, we've had games. We're a good offensive football team where I am in high school right now. Not that our defense is bad. I'm certainly not taking anything away, but we've had teams take the ball on us here the last 3 games. A couple teams have taken it off the rip with their game plan of, we're going to snap it at the last second. We're going to keep your offense off the field. And we're coming off the field at halftime with 2 possessions, maybe 2 possessions and a kneel down or got the ball with 30 seconds left at the end of a half. And it's like, you don't feel like you've been effective on offense when the reality is you've scored 14 points and you've only had the ball twice, but you don't feel like you've done anything. And so you feel like you've underperformed and you feel pressure to go out and do more. And I think that is the game plan. I think that has to be the game plan for Florida. Now, the flip side of that is I just showed you, they like to play action on first down, whether it's a bootleg or a downfield play action. And you're also a coaching staff that, what do you have to lose?
Nothing.
Right? If you're a play caller on Saturday in Oxford for Florida, you're fighting for your next job too.
Yeah, you're already fired.
Yeah. And if you can go and put up a damn points in Vaught-Hemingway and knock them off the board, your paycheck might have just gotten better. So part of me is it's okay if you're not a staff that's on the way out the door. Are you treating this is your approach different? Right? Do they come into this game just saying, you know what, we're throwing all this shit at the wall and we're going to be aggressive as hell? Or do they come out and try to manage the game? Because I do think that is ultimately what takes Ole Miss out of the game and what is bad matchup wise for Ole Miss. So I'm curious to see kind of how that Florida interim staff, how they kind of process, how they attack that. And then I'm very curious to see how the Ole Miss defense matches wits with that Florida offense, and if they can control enough in the box with their 6 defenders to maintain enough depth on the back end to not get beat by some of these down the field shots. So I also wouldn't be shocked to see Pete Golden be a little bit more aggressive in this game, in part because of the top 2 receivers for the Florida offense are on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So curious to see how that plays out.
Should be a lot of fun. Saturday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern. It's Ole Miss and Florida. The game's on ESPN. We'll have plenty of coverage at rebels247.com. We'll have the MPW Digital postgame show presented by Realtree. Chase Parham hosting that one with Tyler Siskey and Jeffrey Wright, Brian Rippey, and at some point me on that show on Saturday night. Win or lose, we'll hit the button pretty quick right after the game goes final at Vaught-Hemingway. After this one, Ole Miss has an open date next Saturday. Then they return for the season finale, the regular season finale, Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, in Starkville against Mississippi State. That game's an 11 a.m. kick on ABC. Pete and I, probably after I hit the stop recording button, are going to talk about when we're going to record Pete's Pigskin preview for that one. But we will definitely have a preview of the Egg Bowl. We'll look at Jeff Lebby and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Mississippi State, by the way, they play at Missouri on Saturday, and then I think they have an open date as well going into the Egg Bowl. These are things I should have looked at before the show here. Let's see. Yep. I thought that was right. They play Mississippi State. Mississippi State plays at Missouri, open date. Then they play host to Ole Miss to end the regular season there in Starkville. So we'll preview that game. One final regular season edition of Pete's Pigskin Preview presented by our friends at RiverLand Roofing. So for Pete DeWeese, I'm Neal McCready. Until next time, take care.